Good morning everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. It is Sunday morning and I am getting started for the week on food. So I'm going to try and remember to do intros and outros around about when I think a video will finish. So it is Sunday. We got all the food hamper yesterday, the Aberdeen pantry food hamper yesterday, and the bulk meat order on Friday. So the next week is all about sorting out all of that food onto shelves, into fridges, into our bellies, and then all that sort of thing, and getting that sorted. So I'm going to start off today with that. So Darryl and a couple of the kids are still at church. The twins are home with me at the moment, but they have done their chores for the morning and are doing something. So I'm going to get started before Darryl and the kids get home. I'm going to get some lunch started and a myriad of other bits and pieces. So I'm going to bring you along. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some wings for lunch. So I've got a bag of plain wings here that I already defrosted. I need to cut these up, so I need my knife. All right, so these are 3-piece wings. So what I do is I split them into 3, and then I give the tips to the dogs or keep them for stock if I want to, but it's a good treat for the dogs. And at the moment we've got very, very minimal freezer space, so they're better off going as a treat to the dogs. So just cut them into 3, work our way through them all, and then we've got the little mini drum and the little 2-bone wing bits. So they're the bits that are nice and meaty anyway, and the tips, as I said, can be used for stock, or the dogs really enjoy them as a treat. It's good for their teeth. So just give it to them raw. Just like that. So I'm just going to go through and piece out this entire bag. So this is a 2-kilo bag. I also have the bag that came with the hamper yesterday. It's labelled as wicked wings, which could be a bit hot for some of us. Darryl will probably like them. I'm not a huge fan of hot. I like spice, but if it's at a point where it hurts my mouth to eat it, I'm not a huge fan. So I don't know if I'll like them. So I'm going to cook up some of both types, and then that way these ones will be a milder standardized type thing that I normally do, and the other ones will be the spicy ones, and we can compare them and have a look. I didn't think the wicked ones would be defrosted this morning. We put them in the fridge when we got them from the hamper yesterday, and I thought it'd be a couple of days before they were really defrosted, but it looks like they might have been partially defrosted when I got them, so they feel pretty soft. So they're going to have to be cooked up in the next day or 2 anyway, so I may as well try both flavors to start with, and then we can move on from there and deciding how they're going to work. I suppose I could, depending on the marinade and that, I could always give them a rinse if I want to rinse off a little bit of the spice. We'll see how they are, because Darryl likes spicy. Orpheus really likes spicy. Apollo and Sonnet are somewhat, okay about it, but I think the rest of the kids are very much not into spicy, so we will just see. So these wings were $3 a kilo, and would you believe I actually got an email from Meat Online, which is where I bought them, and they obviously didn't sell as many as they had hoped and had excess, because they're $2 a kilo now, which is a bummer, but that's how these things happen. You get them when they're on special to, and then prices change. It's life. So anyway, I'm going to work through these. All right, so you get 17 to 18 wings per the 2-kilo packs. Now, if I had thought about what I was doing today, I could have pulled these out of the bag, trimmed them, and left them in the fridge to dry out a little bit, but I didn't think about it. So I'm just patting them a little bit dry with a paper towel. It's not going to be perfect, but it is enough, and then this can go in the compost, the paper towel. So we're just taking some of that excess moisture off. The neighbours are at their place. That's why the dogs are going off. They can hear them moving around over there. All right. So then we're going to grab a bag, and we're going to put around about sort of 4 or 5 tablespoons of baking powder in the bag. So I'm just going to do it how I normally measure things, not very accurately. Because that's what I do. And I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder in there as well. And a little bit of paprika. I'm not going to salt these though, because I did salt them yesterday and ended up a little bit salty, but I also am going to make some sort of a glaze. So, all right, so we've got just a bit of garlic, paprika, and baking powder in a Ziploc bag. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to throw all these wings in here. And I'm going to give it a shake so they get a bit of a coating. This is going to make the skins nice and crispy. I really like a crispy chicken wing, so this is going to help with that. So you can do that. Now I'm going to need this board for more chicken, so I'm just going to move that a little bit. I'm just going to wash my hands. All right, so they're just in there with that baking powder mix, and I'm just going to mix it all around. And obviously I didn't zip that up properly because you can see the baking powder coming out. Mix that all around and coat that skin. All right, so I've got my fancy baking paper on a tray and a rack. And now all I'm going to do is place all the, oh my goodness, the dogs, chicken wings. Now these will shrink as they cook, which means that you can have them pretty close together. As they shrink, they will come away from each other and they will crisp up more. Now, I would regularly spread these out between two trays, but I've got these wicked wings in here that I'm going to put on a tray as well. So I'm going to put them up close. It's fine. We're going to cook them for about half an hour at sort of 220, 225. And then we'll glaze them and put them on for another 15 minutes. So I'm just going to shove these in the oven to get them out of the way. And then I'm going to grab another tray. All right, so these wicked wings are the same as the others. They're just the little tenders and the little riblet bits just already marinated with something. So I'm just going to pull all the ones that are soft and defrosted out, leave any that still are a bit icy for another meal, and get these. Just pull a few feathers out if I see them. Doesn't hurt you to eat them, but at the same time I like to avoid it if I can. And just get this tray. Some of them, there is some wingtips on some of them, which isn't, I don't find there's much to eat on a wingtip, but it's fine. Most of these are defrosted, so you might end up cooking. I could grab a third tray. I probably have one there, and cook all of these up. They can always be eaten cold. And it gets them out of my fridge, and if they're already defrosted, of course, because we don't know how this meat has been handled prior to us getting it. No idea how long it's been sitting or anything else. So it's sometimes best just to cook it up once you get it, if you can. So, and there's a few that have a little bit of frozen bits in them, but nothing significant. And and they will cook through. I always cook my wings for plenty of time because I like them really nice and crispy and well cooked through. I'm not a huge fan of wings that are still soft, so I'm just going to cut this one so we've got uniformity when we're cooking them for cooking time purposes. This one doesn't want to, there we go. Just so that it's in two pieces instead for that uniformity. There we go. So yeah, I'll grab another tray and I think I'll just do them all up. So I'm just going to stick this one in the oven, put the other rack in the oven, get the second tray in. Unfortunately, I didn't realize I had the racks in the oven around the wrong way. There wasn't enough gap to do a third tray, and I've just had to swap them all while hot. I think it burnt my arm. Anyway. I love the fact that I have an oven now. It's fantastic, but if I had have known a few more things about the oven that I bought, I probably wouldn't have picked this one as the oven that I bought, but that is life. All right, so this tray, again, we've got a few that haven't been cut, so I've just got the cutting board that I did the chicken on just out of your line of sight. That's all I'm using. There we go. That's all of them done. So I'm going to clean all this up and get it all sorted. All right, the next thing I need to do is get some brine heating up for the brisket that's going to be turned into pastrami. So we've got about 6 litres of water in there, which should be enough to cover all the meat. I've got 3 big rounds of garlic here that I'm going to add. I'm going to toast some coriander seeds. So I've got some coriander seeds that have been collected from the garden. I'm going to toast those to use in here. You don't have to put all these seasonings in brines for corned beef. This is a recipe off a website, hunter-gatherer website, I think it is, and it's for doing with venison actually. And a friend sent it to me ages ago when I was doing my own corned beef, and I really like the extra flavors that the brine imparts to the corned beef. Personal choice, but I really like it. So all we're doing at the moment is we're going to heat all of this up and then let it cool before we cover the meat, which is why I'm getting it done now. So we've got a whole bunch of garlic in there. I need to do salt. Now the recipe's American, of course, because you know that's what happens, and they use kosher salt, which is like a flakier salt, and it's done in cup measures, which isn't like I have just white Australian sea salt, and this is a lot finer grain. So if I was to do this in a cup measure versus that, it would be far too strong. So, and I'm going to use pink curing salt as well, so it's not such a big deal. So it asks for 1.5 cups of kosher salt. So I'll probably do 3/4 of a cup of just the finer grain. Mind you, I do have flaked salt. Not much because I haven't been doing the things I normally do with it. So I've got plenty here, and this is worthwhile. So I think I'm going to just do the 1.5 cups of the flaked salt. All right, and then we're going to use some of the curing salts. This is cure number 1. Now, this again, it's an American recipe. It's done in weights, and it wants 1.5 ounces for this amount of brine. Now, my scales seem to have disappeared. Here we go. Now, let's see if we can get this to measure for us. So I've got a measuring cup on the top. I'm going to change it to ounces. 0. Let's see if we can get this to do 1.5. There we go. So we've got 1.5 ounces of, it seems to be accurate, 1.5 ounces, it looks around about right, of the pink curing salt. You don't have to use pink curing salt. You would bump up this normal salt if you weren't. It does help with color and appearance, and it does just make the taste a little bit better, and I really don't have a problem with it, so that's what we're using. We're going to use some cracked black pepper. I cracked up a whole bunch here, and I did grab measuring spoons. Where did I put them? Now, the pepper, when it's done in the grind like this, has a lot of variation in the texture, which is what I like about it. So we're going to do 3 tablespoons of cracked black pepper. We're also going to do 3 tablespoons of mustard seeds, which I need to order more of. 1, 2, 3, and then we want some cinnamon sticks. So I've got some cinnamon sticks here, and we're going to put some thyme in. Some thyme, and then we want some bay leaves, which I will go and find. We've got the garlic, and then we want the coriander toasted. So I'm just going to toast the rest of these in here in a pan. And we're looking at about sort of, it says 18 odd bay leaves. So I've just grabbed a handful out and it says to crush them. So I'm just going to break them up a bit into here. And the other thing was some sugar. So I just need to find the sugar jar. Bay leaves in there. I'm just toasting the coriander seeds still. It wants about a cup of sugar. So probably most of this jar that's left here. Half, nearly a half. So nearly a cup of sugar. Not that concerned about that one. Right, and these coriander seeds are smelling lovely. So they don't need much, just get the oils out a little bit. You see them smoking just a little bit, so we're going to pour those in there. All right, now I'm just going to get this on the stove. We're going to bring this up to like a simmer, and then we're going to put the lid on it, turn it off, let it steep until it comes down to room temperature again before we put the meat in it. All right, the glaze for those other wings, I did garlic butter parmesan yesterday, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a mild sweet one. So this is that Nando's sauce. It's medium, it's a little bit spicy but not excessively, and then I've got keto maple syrup here. So you're going to do a nice sort of a sweet with a little bit of heat, and I'm going to add a bit of soy for a bit of salt, because remember I didn't salt the thing. Now I had the lid for that. Obviously it had come off. It's over on the sink, I think. And I'm just going to whisk those three together. So this is what they look like at the moment. And they're perfectly edible just as is. But a nice sort of a sticky glaze is always nice on chicken wings. So I don't like to overdo it, just because I like mine still to make sure that they're crunchy. So I like to just give them a generous basting. We've got the other tray in there to do too. So half this for this batch, half for the other. And then stick them back in the oven for another 15 to 20 minutes. And that will get all sticky. Sometimes I flip my wings, and I probably should have, and I didn't. I might flip the other tray. I just realised that I hadn't done a flip yet because I've been too busy doing everything else. That brine has just come up to a simmer as well. So I'm just about to turn that off and put a lid on it. Done. So I'm just going to stick this back in, grab the other tray out, and I'm going to flip them before I glaze the other tray because I should have done that with this one too. I actually just realised that the other two trays are both flavoured already. So I've made this extra glaze up. I'll have to stick it in the freezer because I've had raw chicken in it now to use, or I could flip them and glaze both sides since I have the extra. Maybe I'll do that. So I'm just going to turn this off, finish that, get it back in the oven. So here's what they look like. The ones with the homemade glaze on them, and then the ones with the ones that came pre-seasoned. So I don't know what this tastes like yet. We'll give it a go. You can always make a bit of something to dip them into if we want, but 3 trays of those. And so that's most of lunch today. There is leftover cheesy pasta for the kids from last night too if they want some of that, but maybe we'll reuse that for dinner. Alrighty, so everyone's had lunch, leftovers have been put away, everything else. Now I've got all this chicken that I've got defrosted to do something with. One of the first things I'm going to do, we finished our jar of pickles, so I'm literally just going to marinate some thighs in the pickle juice. So we've got, now these are the bags that were supposed to be the skin on ones. Definitely not skin on, and a lot of them aren't whole thighs either by the looks of it. There's some offcuts and stuff, which is fine. We'll use it regardless. All right, so we got those. Let me just give my hands a rinse. Now I normally probably would have salted and peppered these, but I am just short on space and stuff, so I'm not going to today. I'm going to just, my hands are wet, I'm just going to do the pickle juice for today, and all we do is just pour it all over like that. All under the pickle juice, and I'll probably marinate this until tomorrow in here. and then cook it up. So, all right, so that container, Sonnet's going to put in the fridge for me.
It took you like forever to find a lid.
Yes. So that one's sorted. Next, I'm going to do some tenderloins in a satay marinade so that we can do like satay pieces with satay sauce sort of thing. But I've still got these thighs left as well that are frosted, which I might do up in one of my standard ones. So I'm just going to grab a bowl and slice these up how I normally do into strips. And then we'll use that with my normal cowboy candy marinade and stuff. Now I am very low on cowboy candy, but we got all those chilies with the hamper, so I'm gonna have to go through those tomorrow or the next day and do something with those, see what's left. I've got some in the freezer too, so if there's not enough good ones out of the hamper stuff, I can grab some out of the freezer and make another batch of cowboy candy. But I'm pretty sure I've still got a jar of the large jars, which are predominantly juice. I'm pretty sure I've still got 1 or 2 of them on the shelf, which is what I use for marinade and stuff. So like this one had a little bit of skin. It was one out of the whole 5 kilo bag, had skin on it. So I like to cut my thighs into smaller pieces when I do the cowboy candy marinade, because I like them to get that caramelization on all the different surfaces of them. I am going to try canning a bunch of different chicken. So ugly chicken is basically just raw chicken packed in a jar. It makes its own juices and you let it cook and everything in the jar, so you do nothing with it beforehand. The reason it's called ugly chicken is because it looks quite odd once it's done, because it's cooked in the jar. You can par cook your chicken first, which some people do because they prefer the look of it once it's canned. I've never done it because I just don't really see the point, but I am going to try seasoning some of it, par cooking it, and then canning it out of curiosity, because when you can it just as ugly chicken, it's basically like shredded chicken like if you've stripped a rotisserie chicken, it's shredded up like that. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor, it just tastes like chicken, and it's not quite as versatile as it could be. Like you can use it in lots and lots of different things. You can use it heated straight up to put in sandwiches, like as a chicken salad, or just in wraps with other things. You can use it in pastas and all that. You can do that, but it is just sort of almost a bland sort of a shredded chicken. It's just not anything special. So it would be nice to be able to can some up the same way as like I freeze it. So I use a lot of freezer space with cooked chicken because we like it seasoned and in those, holding its shape and things like that. So if I could replicate that somehow canned, that would be great. But I'm not sure how it'll go. So the idea is to do some batches of it and see how it turns out. Just some smaller batches of it to see how it turns out and see what I think of it. I'm just going to get all this cooked up so I don't have to worry about it in the fridge going bad. So anyway, I'm going to finish slicing this all up and then I'm going to clean up my space and I'll bring you back. Right, so my standard, we've got the cowboy candy brine. Now this is basically, when we do cowboy candy, I purposely leave, I do a lot of extra brine because I purposely use it for this kind of thing. So we've got cowboy candy brine, we've got some garlic, some paprika, plenty of paprika, because what we want is we want good color on the chicken. And then some salt, some pepper, and some onion powder normally, which, there it is. So that's my standard sort of a mix. Sometimes I add mustard powder and stuff with it too, but there's probably more than enough heat in this one with the cowboy candy and that pepper and stuff. So then all I do is I massage it all through, and then this will go in the fridge as well. for at least half an hour. I could cook it up this afternoon if I wanted. I'm not sure what I'm doing for dinner yet. The kids have leftovers. I'm not sure what Della and I are doing, but for the moment, I'm just going to massage this all the way through, put a lid on it, and put it in the fridge, and then start on the next lot of chicken. So this first batch, like that, and it's probably 4 kilos worth of chicken, maybe a little bit less, looking at how much is in this bowl. So now I'll just get a lid for it, stick it on, and get it in the fridge. Alrighty, next one I'm going to do is the tenderloins, and I'm going to do satay. So these are good size, just tenderloin pieces, which would be good if I decide I want to go the effort to put them on skewers or just cook them as tenderloins. So this is a 2.5 kilo bag, so I'm just going to do the whole lot. Get them all out of here. Alright, so we've got 2.5 kilos of the tenderloins in there. We're going to base the marinade on the Recipe 10 Eats satay. I don't do it quite exactly the same, but it's close. So she does it per 600 grams of chicken. So we've got 2.5, so we've got 4 times the amount here. She uses a tablespoon of curry powder, but so like 4 tablespoons, I'm going to halve that because we use this Baba's meat curry powder, and it's quite strong. She suggests using Keen's curry, which is an Australian brand as far as I'm aware. Maybe not, maybe it's a British brand, I don't know, but it's a Keen's curry, which is what my nana used to always use for like curried eggs and things like that when I was a kid, and it's a lot milder than the Baba's curry. So we're going to halve that. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of that. She does a little bit of sugar in it. I think it needs something in it, but I don't think I really... She just does a teaspoon of white sugar, and there's just not much. I don't have any sugar in my sugar jar. And I don't want to open another one. Give me a sec. I've got this keto maple syrup still out from this morning. I think I'm just going to throw a bit of that in there because I have it out. It's quite mild, and I haven't really enjoyed it in a lot of things, so I think I'm just going to put the rest of that in there. And then we're doing curry paste. So I'm using the Maisery red curry paste. She's got 2 teaspoons per batch, so it's 2 tablespoons basically worth that we need. What I'm going to do is use half this, and then the other half I will use in the actual satay sauce, so that I use the whole tin. So half in the marinade, half in the satay sauce, and then some salt. So that is the marinade that she uses, and I've quite enjoyed the satay chicken based on her stuff, so that's what I'm going to stick with. Going to put that into marinade for at least a couple of hours as well, and then I will probably just grill the tenderloins on a pan. It'd be nice to do them in the charcoal grill, but the weather's not real great at the moment, and the charcoal grill's undercover out there, and I probably can't really get to it, so might just have to cook them in a pan like normal. But I don't think I've got any skewers at the moment either. I'm not sure, but the whole point was that they're going to be like the satay chicken skewers that you get at a Chinese shop, with the satay sauce, because I miss that kind of thing. So this is just going to, I need to wash my hands again, put a lid on this, and this is going to go in the fridge as well. And then I'll bring you back once I'm doing stuff with all of this stuff. All right, it is animal feeding time. That everyone is very noisy. Lamington is yelling, the geese are going off. But I'm just going to get the satay sauce going on the stove. Now, I did forget to add a bit of this coconut cream into the marinade for the chicken, but that's fine. And then the rest of the tin you use in the sauce. So also has the rest of the curry paste in it as well. And then we're going to add some peanut butter Now I'm just using Skippy peanut butter. Yes, most recipes say use natural peanut butter, but this also has something bigger than that would be better, yes. But the recipe also has sugar in it, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to not put the sugar in it, just put the peanut butter for the moment, because this peanut butter does have some sugar and stuff in it. It also has 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. Just wait, I need to figure out how much I need in there. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And 180 grams of peanut butter, so we need the scales out.
They're very ugly. So 250?
No, 180 grams. Just wait a second till I put it on grams. There you go, 180 grams, and then it's got some water in it as well, so I'll grab water. Yeah, that's fine. And 180 mils of water as well. And then can you find a whisk for me?
Yes, Mama.
And then we're going to heat this up and whisk it until it gets to the point that it is right. And then I'm going to grill off some of that marinated chicken as well. So we've got some leftover chicken wings from lunch, and the kids have leftover cheesy pasta from last night as well. So all I'm going to do is do a bit of a mix up of different things for dinner tonight. Right, brisket. So the brine is the right temperature now. I underestimated how big this brisket was though. So hopefully I've got enough brine. I was hoping to do it all in one container, but I doubt I need to cut it anyway, but I doubt I'm going to be able to fit it all in one container. So hopefully I have enough brine to do it.
If I need to eat half the brisket in order for you to fit the container,
I don't think brisket's very nice if just cooked as is. I think this is fairly well trimmed. I could take some more of this silver skin off and stuff, but I'm not going to, because I'm not overly skilled at it, and it will just take too much time that I don't think is worth it. But what I might do is, so we've got the point and we've got the flat. I might take the point, but I might halve the flat, because what I want to happen is that I want that cure to get through all of it, and then when I smoke it, I'll smoke it in the 3 pieces, and that way the cure is gonna get through it all a bit quicker than if it was one big piece, because it's quite thick in the middle here. But as I said, I don't think I'm going to fit this all in one container. It doesn't need to be, oh, I might. Now it's just a matter of if I've got enough liquid to submerge all that like that. Let's see. We'll take this piece out for the moment. I'll give my hands a rinse. And then we've got our brine. So, can you see what I'm doing? Probably not very well. This brine smells delicious too. I do, whilst the flavours aren't necessary, I really do enjoy them. So, do you know what I'm thinking? No, I was going to say I could leave it in the pot, but I don't really want to tie my pot up for that long. I think I'm just going to leave those 2 pieces in one, and there's enough brine there that I can put this in another bit. Super grateful for these extra Cambro containers that Susan sent me. They are amazing for this sort of stuff. I've just stuck that on the board. You have to wipe the bottom of it off. But because I've ended up with enough brine to fill both, I'm going to do that. Now, a lot of these spices have ended up in the bottom here, all the garlic and stuff. So I'm going to grab them like this. I know I'm doing this, you know, in a messy sort of a roundabout way, but oh, and I've just made more mess. This is how my kitchen works, anyone who's been here before. All right, so I'm gonna wash my hands again, lids on these, get these out of the way and clean up. All right, so this is what the tenderloins look like all fried up, and here's the satay sauce. So I probably could have reduced the water a little bit. It's a little bit thinner than I'd like, but it's going to be tasty. Of course, this would be nicer with rice and things like that, but because we're not doing carbs at the moment, we're just going to have it like this, and it'll, you know, fit the bill of what I was looking for, which was a satay chicken. Good morning, everyone. It is Monday morning. Darryl is playing a D&D game, so I am staying out of his way. Now, I really should be working on more meat. I definitely should be working on more meat, and I will. But what we're really lacking at the moment is some sweet treats. So that's what I'm going to do first. So I'm going to do a couple of different things, hopefully. One of the things is I bought these soy protein crisps to make a crunchy bar type thing for Darryl and I, so I'm going to give that a go. These soy protein crisps have 28.3 grams per 100 of carbs. 30 grams is half a cup. The recipe calls for 2 cups, so 4 serves, which ends up being almost 32 grams of carbs. So we will see how that works out in serving size. It seems like a lot, but we're going to give them a go, even if we have it in really small snack type serves. The other thing I was going to do was the Snickers date bar things for the kids, and we'll see how we go from there. So first up, let's mix this up. It's really super simple, so I'm going to give it a go. So it wants 2 cups, which is pretty much the whole packet. It's 120 odd grams, and this is 150, so we may end up just using the whole packet and sizing things up as we need. So let me grab a bowl. All right, so this isn't the cheapest stuff either. I think it was $7 for the bag. So this is possibly not something I'd make over again, but it's nice to try as a change. So let's point you down here a bit. All right, so it asks for 2 cups of the puffs. The pouring leaves a bit to be desired. Yeah, so that's taken most of... I might leave these because they might be good as a crunch, because I was going to make some of the nutty chocolate as well, so I might leave that just to go in there. So we got 2 cups of puffs, and then it wants 1 scoop of protein powder. I'm using the Macro Mic. I'm just going to use the vanilla buttercream almond one. So we've got a scoop of protein powder in there as well. And then it wants a cup of Biscoff spread. So this is why it's super simple, but also why this would be like a significant treat. It just doesn't, anyway, it's going to be high protein, but it's not going to be particularly low carb. So I do have this keto butter cookie spread, which I use with our cheesecake pops. It's quite expensive though. So using a cup of that's like, it also has per serve 10 grams of carbs, and that's per 37 grams. And then I've also got some of the standard Biscoff here, and it's per serve 8.8 grams of carbs. The serving size is half, so 17.2 grams per the same sort of amount as this that has 10. So this has about half the carbs in it, but that's still... Maybe I've changed my mind about this. Maybe I'll add this to the other chocolate instead, and we'll go with that, because I'm not happy with the carb count on that. So what I might do instead, we'll just, fly by the seat of our pants here. I've got those there. I've got the protein powder mixed in it. The other thing I was going to do was the nutty chocolate from Quirky Cooking that I did around Christmas time. No blade or base for my Thermomix here. Now, around Christmas time, I did it as a Rocky Road, but I don't have any jelly lollies or marshmallows made up at the moment, and I couldn't be bothered. So what I might do is make the chocolate and then use the puffs as the texture in it. So I've got the Quirky Cooking Cookbook on my phone. Now, the only other thing why I wasn't going to do this is because the cacao butter's in the freezer under all that meat. Now I have to find it. All right, so I've got cacao butter. This came from Mum's place from the cafe. It's been sitting in her fridge all this time and should be perfectly fine. Mine had gone rancid because it had sat at room temperature, but this smells and looks perfectly fine having sat in the fridge. So the first thing it wants to do is put 250 grams of cacao butter. So, all right, so 250 grams. Then it wants us to chop. It's going to be loud. 10 seconds on speed 8. So now we're going to melt that. I did forget I've just discovered that the online recipe book doesn't seem to have the shortcut that I took last time, which was doing the nut butter as I was doing it. And that meant that the nuts got ground up with the cocoa butter. Yes, so that's the difference. I do have the book, but it's been destroyed. And it's, yeah, so I bought it online, but anyway. So I do need to put the nuts, 250 grams of roasted nuts. These are pre-roasted. I'm going to grind these up. Hopefully it'll still work. We'll see how we go. And then normally you'd put crushed nuts in it as the nut. Instead, I'm going to do this. So I'm just going to mix that protein powder through the nuts, the soy proteins, and then I'm going to mix this through as the mix-in, I think. Anyway, this video is going to be all over the place because I changed my mind halfway through, didn't I? I'm just going to scrape this down because of the way I did the blending slightly inappropriately, and I'm going to whiz it at a higher speed again to try and break some of that nuts down because they're very textured at the moment. That is melting and doing what it needs to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get started on the date protein thing for the kids. So what I did was I wanted to get some medjool dates and I didn't. I got these ones instead. Now these are pitted. They're probably not quite as soft as a medjool date. Definitely chewier. Some are softer than others. I think they'll work. So this recipe basically makes your base out of your dates. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to squish them all together and I'm going to use some rolling pin probably with a piece of paper on top, and we're going to try and make a base out of these. So there is some that are really quite moist, some that aren't as moist, so we'll make it work. All these recipes are, I find, a little far-fetched, to be honest. Most of these I find never work quite the way that they're supposed to, even if you have exactly what they call for. And I have thought maybe this one would be better if I just blended the dates up a bit and then spread them out, because I can't see this working, honestly. Let's give it a go though. We're going to try and lay these out as much as possible. Alright, so all the cacao butter's melted. Now the recipe calls for liquid sweetener, but I managed to use allulose last time, so that's what I'm going to do, and just have to reheat it for longer to get that to dissolve. So we've added some sweetener, and then we want cocoa as well, which we've got 60 grams of cocoa. And then we're going to mix this up. on speed 2, and we'll see what it does. And then I'm going to go back to my dates for the moment, which I'm getting there. They are sticking better doing them face down. It'll just be interesting to see whether I can peel that paper off afterwards. So let me do another row here. Finish schoolwork? Did you have a look at that new course or anything? Alright, so medjool dates might work a little bit better, yes, but some of these are as soft as medjool dates. Nothing's sticking together and it's driving me nuts. And it just isn't, unless I could belt it really, really hard to get it, I don't think I'm happy with it. So what I think I'll do, see, some bits have stuck together okay, but what I think I want to do is just puree the dates and create a base. Like, it seems, I don't know, a little bit of hot water and the dates, puree it and set it in a sheet, and then it'll be more even. I don't know. I know this video is all over the place. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Once this chocolate has finished dissolving the sugars, I think I'm just going to blend up a whole lot of dates and create my own sort of just a smooshy. And I think I'll just spread it out on a board like on this, and then do the toppings for it. I think that's going to work better. I forgot to turn the camera on, but I poured the chocolate mixture into the soy protein crisps, and we've ended up with this, and it looks pretty good. I don't know. The protein crisps stay nice and crunchy, which is good, and we're gonna go with this one. We're just going to take that as a semi-fail and stick with that. Hazelnut butter chocolate with the protein crisp in it, and I'm going to set it up. This is not a recipe anyone can follow, and I can't really share it because I have no idea what I ended up doing. So I think the temperature went up a little higher than it should have with that one, so we will see how it sets up. I'm sure I can find a use for it regardless, but I'm just going to cover it and stick it in the fridge, and we'll see what it does. I don't have much success with keto sweets. I've followed a lot of channels and people give me recommendations all the time, but honestly I don't have much luck with them. So I end up doing cheesecakes and things like that, and they work perfectly fine, but they're just a lot of effort. I wanted something that I could just sort of dice up. So I'm going to let that chill a little bit, and then I'm going to stick it straight in the fridge. I got a clean Thermomix bowl, so what I'm going to do is for these Snickers bars for the kids, I'm going to blend the dates. I really just think that it will be more effective if the base is dates. I might see weight, so I... do 300 grams of dates. I've gone over. We'll do 350. And then I'll start blending them. I'll see what it does and whether it needs maybe just a bit of hot water or something. That was 15 seconds on speed 8. And that's going to work fine. And I'm going to spread it out on here. Now, I'm going to give a quick spray on the top of this one. I think that has worked really well. Obviously it's an odd shape, but I don't care about that. And I think that will just make a nicer base. So now we need to melt the inside. We want 100 grams of peanut butter. It's a little over 100, but that's fine. And then they wanted a scoop of the protein powder and a little bit of warm water. and a bit of honey, though I don't think it really will need sweetening, but let's get some warm water first. Get some warm water and we'll mix it through and see what it does, if it can get thin enough that I can spread it on there. And then I have some peanuts, roasted salted peanuts as well, that I'm going to sprinkle over it as well, though the peanut butter is crunchy, but I'm going to sprinkle that over as well. And then once it's set, we'll melt some chocolate for it and have that faux Snickers thing. Now, I really do sort of have to be in the right mindset to be doing sweet baking. Obviously, it's not today, so I think I'm going to give up after this. I think that's it for today. And then I'm going to pull some of the chicken out that needs to be sorted. We'll have some lunch. I might pull some more of the satay chicken out and cook that up because that was really nice. And then the kids can have it on wraps for lunch and things like that. So I'm just going to... Now it says 70 to 80 grams of warm water. I'm going to start with sort of 50 because I think that might be a little overkill. And I put this in a double boiler so that if I need to put it on the stove, I can thin it out a bit more. Okay, now let's see if we can spread this as is. I'm curious as to whether I'll be able to or not. Yeah, I reckon this will work. So all I'm going to do is spread it out to the shape that I ended up with. I could even this shape out if I wanted. I could have cut pieces off and made it more uniform, but I said really not feeling it today. Unfortunately, still have to film videos, and sometimes that means that you get you get what you get. So I reckon these are going to be super tasty though. Now I don't reckon it really needs more peanuts because the peanut butter is crunchy, but it's about making the snack healthier and going further, and peanuts are one of those things some people don't find particularly healthy, but they're still a protein source. They're still adding bulk to it, things like that. So I'm going to press in these, and then I'm going to refrigerate this on a tray, and once it's set, I'm going to melt some chocolate with a little bit of coconut oil and do a top layer so that it's like a Snickers bar, which the kids won't have ever had because they're dairy, but I know what a Snickers bar is, so just like that. I think this is going to be super tasty. I think I could do a lot of variations of this, different flavors. We could even do like an Oreo one with a crumbled Oreos in it, do peanut butter chocolate kind of a bar like that. So there we go. So now I'm just going to put it on a baking tray and let it set, and then I'm going to do the chocolate. So actually there is one other thing that I'm going to do before I start lunch, and that's to peel and get some of these sweet potatoes steamed, because I want to make sweet potato brownies amongst a few other things. So I'm going to get these on the stove because they take a little while to steam, and then they have to be chilled before I use them to cook with as well. Now, I could use a potato peeler here and I'd lose less sweet potato, but I got plenty of sweet potato and the pigs love the peel, so I'm just being lazy. So I'm just going to peel these two big sweet potatoes, and then I need a new paring veggie knife. I don't have one at the moment. This is the only decent knife I've really got, and it's just not ideal for this. It's not flexible enough, and it's the wrong size, but as I said, the pigs will enjoy the excess flesh that I'm losing. I do find it easier than using a potato peeler on Sweet potato, I find that really rough on my wrists and hands, so cutting it is still easier in that sense. I'm just going to steam it, so small chunks, less time required to steam. Can roast it. Some people like to roast it for the purposes of baking with it, because it loses a lot of its water when you roast it, but I'm going to let this chill before I do anything with it anyway, and so any of the excess water will actually sort of like separate, and I can just tip that off. Changed my mind about lunch. I was going to do some of the satay chicken, but I actually might leave that for tonight and do it with rice and stuff for the kids. So instead, I'm going to grill off some of this pickle brine chicken and see how it goes. So this has been marinating overnight, so I'm going to heat up a cast iron pan and I'm just going to cook it off. I should look at buying myself a cast iron grill pan, because I think that would work well for things like this. Just going to get a little bit of the liquid off because I'm going in a flat pan. We don't want it to stew in the marinade, we want it to grill it off. Just going to get the pan nice and hot, put them on. But yeah, grill marks on a pan would be nice. Let some of the liquid go between the ridges, which stops it from cooking in its own liquids, but also just looks nice on the chicken to have those grill marks. Alright, when I did do the brined chicken, I did forget to salt and pepper it, so I have added some salt and pepper as I've put it in the pan, and then just cooking it till we get some colour on it and flipping it. It's pretty mild, doesn't have a whole lot of flavour at all, which is not a bad thing. It's lovely and tender though. I'll show you some that I've already cooked and cut it up. We've got some good colour. It looks like we've spread that out a bit so that it cooks a bit more evenly. So I'm just cooking it off till we get some good colour and it's cooked through. Alright, I'll wash my hands and I'll cut up some that we've already done because I just touched the raw chicken. Alright, so this is some that's already been cooked and it's been sitting here, and so it's just nice juicy chicken thigh with the marinade. As I said, it doesn't taste like much of anything, but the texture is great. So, and that was sort of partly the whole purpose, and it's lovely and moist. So all I'm going to do is cut this up for the kids, and they can have it on wraps or whatever they want. And throw that bit back in. Cutting it up means that I can double check that it's all cooked all the way through, and then yeah, so this is, they can have this however they want with, camera keeps moving, however they want with lunch. I didn't turn the camera on because, you know, the amount of fouls that I've had this morning, but I mixed up by feel a bit of this protein cookie dough ball batter that I'm going to use. So it was basically 1 part peanut butter, 1 part almond flour, and then a half a part of protein powder, and it's pretty much perfect. Perfect texture, perfect sweetness, didn't add any other sweeteners or anything else, and it just works. So the idea was I'm going to make some Ninja creamy stuff that this could be the cookie dough mix in, but also just to have to use for other things. Also pulled the chocolate out of the freezer out of curiosity to see. No, I did stick it in the freezer and I may not have needed to, but it does have cacao butter in it, which means that it will set up like chocolate, but it just seemed so wet at the time. But looks like, yeah, no, it's gone really crumbly instead of creamy. But it tastes okay. It's nothing special. It has definitely, I don't know what I did wrong there, because I've made this nutty chocolate numerous times and it's turned out into like an actual chocolate. I don't know, this has gone more like a slice. Not real sure, but it's edible. it's a dark chocolatey, crunchy, edible thing, we'll manage to use it. I did think, actually what I was thinking was that I wonder if I cut it up into chunks and put some of it into that cookie butter instead of chocolate chips was the idea. So we ended up with a bit of the cookie butter with a bit of this in it. I wonder what that would end up being like. So we shall see. When Darryl's not busy, what I'll do is I'll get him to try a few of these bits and pieces. The chocolate as is, maybe mix some mixed through the cookie dough butter, can freeze it as little balls of the cookie dough butter with this through it. I don't know. Another semi-fail for today. The sweet potato has finished steaming and I'm going to refrigerate that as well, but today is just a bit of a mess. Good morning, everyone. So it is Tuesday. It has been a messy few days. I didn't film last night's dinner. I got a photo of it though. We did satay chicken with rice and the satay sauce and veggies. And then I've just done lunch, which was the leftover rice fried up with some of the other chicken that had to be cooked, some egg and corn and things like that, like a faux fried rice. So we've just finished that. It's 10 to 2. I'm getting really late start. We had issues with the generator. Our generator, it died, and so we had to get a replacement. So we're borrowing a friend's until we can replace it, but it meant that we had to turn everything off last night. My camera is really just not sitting in the right spot. I had to turn everything off last night because we had no power, and transfer fridges and freezers to things that needed to be done, and it's been a messy few days. So this is going to be like a 3-day video, and it's going to be great. But what I do need to do is I have the sweet potato that I steamed that needs to be turned into brownies, and I still need to do the chocolate topping for the kids' date thing. So that's what I'm going to finish off, and then I'll probably finish things off. So first of all, for the sweet potato brownies, we need almond butter. Now, I don't buy almond butter. I tend to make my own. So I'm hoping that I've got enough power in the other solar array to make myself some almond butter. Now, there is an almond butter recipe on the Thermomix, and I'm going to have a go at it and just to see what it does. Almond butter is normally something that I just wing. I just basically blend it till it gets right. So I'm just curious as to what the sort of timelines it expects this to be for this one. It goes next, and then it wants 30 seconds again at 10. And it says to scrape it down again, and I think it's going to do the same thing. It's just going to do it in 30-second increments, which is, it makes sense. So scrape it down so that we've got all the drier bits back mixed in with the bottom, and we'll go again. All right, I'm going to call that good. It's probably not as smooth as it could be, but it's definitely a blended butter. It's just a thick one rather than a thin one is all. So the power is struggling a little bit with the Thermomix running, as well as what else needs to go. So I'm going to mash up my sweet potato by hand. I'm using a pastry cutter because I'm not real sure where my potato masher is, to be honest, but pastry cutter works well because it's cold. It's not the easiest thing in the world to mash. So I ended up with 2 containers full of sweet potato. This is just one of them, and each brownie recipe requires a cup of this and a cup of almond butter. So I'm not sure how much almond butter I've ended up, but I can use peanut butter instead. It's just that my peanut butter is not natural peanut butter, so it's got a bit of oil and sugar and stuff in it, and that sometimes makes a bit of a difference. But I'll have a look at how much almond butter I ended up with, because maybe I'll do 2 batches, and one can be almond butter and one can be peanut butter, and we'll compare them. So this is mashed up fairly well. So now I'm going to get a different bowl. Measuring cup. Sorry, I actually need to delete some stuff on my SD card. So give me a sec. I was running out of space. So what we want is a cup of sweet potato, a cup of almond butter. So let's see, a solid pack cup of almond butter. And see, my almond butter is quite dense and dry, so I'm sure that makes a difference here too. So it's just 215 grams. And then we're going to do a cup of sweet potato. And again, my sweet potato is quite dense and dry because I refrigerated it, so we'll see. So half. One, which ends up being 270. grams of sweet potato. We want 2 eggs. I need to grab the eggs. All right, I want 2 large eggs, but we've got some chickens that are only just starting to lay and they're pretty tiny. So I'm going to use 3 because all those other ingredients there are pretty dry too. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. So we're going to go 3 smallish eggs. There we go. And then we're going to put half a cup of maple syrup. Half a cup of maple syrup. We want 2/3 of a cup of cocoa. Probably going to find another. So I didn't measure that half a cup of. I should have done that by weight too. 2/3 of a cup of cocoa. Now I don't have another measuring cup here. Give me a sec. I of course cannot find another measuring cup, which is another reason why I don't like measuring cups. For a start, it's more to be washed, but also I can never find them. So 2/3 of a cup, I'm going to just use a guesstimate. That looks about right to me. We're going to add a little bit of vanilla. Now I've run out of vanilla extract at the moment, but I have some vanilla bean paste, which is super good, but not something I use here normally. So some vanilla bean paste. We're going to put a little bit of baking powder, not very much, sort of a teaspoon baking powder, and a pinch of salt. And if I've got some cinnamon handy, I'll put a little bit of cinnamon in it too, because I like cinnamon in this sort of thing. Not that I'm the one eating them, but, and I'm not sure where my cinnamon jar is, and I really couldn't be bothered. So that's what we're going to mix together first. Now it would be a lot easier to mix together in the Thermomix, and I may risk the power to do that, but first I need to get the rest of the nut butter out of here. I'm not doing real well with my camera today either, am I? As I said, it's been a messy few days. These videos are going to be a little bit all over the place. And if I was ahead enough that I had other things to show you, I'd probably just skip these and say it's been a crappy few days. But this is the content for Wednesday's video, so you just have to bear with me. Alright, so we're just going to scrape all of this into the Thermomix and give it a quick blend. So we just did 10 seconds on speed 5. Again, we're battling power issues here. And all I really want to do is bring it together, and I can then work on it from there, so that's fine. It's done what it needs to do and turned it into a batter. So now I need a pan, and then I think I'll make up a second batch. So I need 2 square pans for this. Right, we've got pan number 1 here. Now I need a different spatula probably for this to get it all out. So let me go have a look. Alright, I found my Thermomix spatula, which is much more rigid, so it makes it a lot easier to get the batter out of the bowl, and it fits beside the blades, so it makes it easier that way too. So I'm just going to get this all in the pan, and then I will add the same again into the Thermomix bowl and blend up another batch and get that in a pan as well, and then get them in the oven. So I've got a double boiler. I'm just going to put a good handful of chocolate chips in there and just a tiny bit of coconut oil. and I'm going to melt it. Alright, so we've melted the chocolate and double boiler. Sonnet did it for me, and now I'm just going to pour it all over the top. I'm going to spread it out.
And I get the excess.
And Sonnet, because she stirred it for me, apparently gets to lick the bowl. So she's just whispered in my ear.
It's fair.
So,
Beep, beep, beep,
and then I'm going to put a little bit of flaked salt. You want to grab the flaked salt from underneath the bench? It's under the bench here.
I want to add it.
So there we go. We're just going to put a tiny little sprinkle of flaked salt over the top as well. Just a little smattering. Yep. And then we're done. So now I'm going to stick it back in the fridge, and the chocolate should set up to a nice sort of a crisp shell. And then once it's done, I'll pull it out and I'll cut it up into pieces, and they can enjoy it as like a faux picnic bar is the idea. We will see. I'm ready to finish for the day and stop recording. What I'm going to do is, it's 10 to 4, so it's a little bit late for a snack for the kids, but I'm going to cut some of this up so that they can have a try and it's on camera. And then I'm going to leave you, and I'll just put a little clip on the end of cutting the Snickers bar up. So this is what it looks like on the inside. It's a really nice, moist, sort of a dense brownie type thing. It's very good, very tasty. So that's what they look like on the inside. And I'll get the kids to taste test it, but I'm sure they'll be fine with it. And then, yeah, that's it for today for me. So that was everything for the last few days. So messy, sort of a all over the place sort of a thing, but gonna share it anyway, and I'll see you on the next one.